I'm on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What You Watching. No longer on Tuesdays, but What You Watching Wednesdays, which sounds so much better. Happy to be here. Another week in quarantine. Yay, COVID-19. I have a great panel as usual with me today. First and foremost, new to our stream because she has not been on the show yet, Miss Kit Bowen.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
So, Kit, you have to let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, yes, you can. I'm a managing editor for ScreenPix, which we just actually got a new site, so it's up and running now. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at The Movie Kit.
Awesome. All right. And then, of course, the returning champion, Mr. Rama Screen.
What up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me on again, HCA. Good to be back to talk movies with you guys. Looking forward to it. And don't forget, Arctic Dogs is on Netflix. Thank you.
Yeah. And
Wait, what's on Netflix? What?
Yeah. We have the Trek boy himself right here, Demetri Panos.
Hey.
Where can they find you?
They can find me right here on the Twitters at Demetri Panos and on the Instagram, Demetri Panos. Kit, seriously, it's 100 degrees and you're wearing a sweatshirt? I'm sweating like Albert Brooks in broadcast news.
Light. It's a light
just watching
sweatshirt.
you.
It covers,
So light.
yeah, it covers my neck.
Hachi machi.
I'm turning into Diane Keaton. I have to cover my neck.
Jesus.
It just-
My God. That looks like a... Wow.
All right.
But it
All
is
right.
great to see you.
Yes.
All
very
right,
happy.
everyone. So how this show works, very simple. I just keep saying what you're watching over and over again. And that's my role in this whole show. And we're going to start off with Rama for his first pick. Rama, what you been watching?
Well, been watching this little new show on Netflix called The Eddy, which premieres this Friday. It's fantastic. It's directed and produced by Damien Chazelle, a name you're probably familiar with. He gave us La La Land. And a bunch of other filmmakers as well directing the other episodes. There are 8 total. And so the story is set in Paris. I gotta get the name on top of my screen here. Andre Holland, there you go. He plays the owner of a club called the Eddy. And so there's a bit of drama regarding his co-founder who's been doing shady dealings with some bad guys, and that pretty much propels the entire plot for the entire season. And this scandal kind of affects the house band members as well. It's fantastic. The cinematography is so cool. It highlights it does a close up on the fingers when they dance on the piano. Gives a close up on the snare drums. It really highlights the club, and it takes us on a tour of the place. That's how cool the cinematography is. And the band, they are actual musicians. So these are not actors who, learn music just for the roles. They're actually actual musicians who can act. Including the singer Joanna Kulik. You recognize her from Cold War a few years ago, that fantastic Oscar-nominated foreign language film. And she does have professional background in music vocals, so she does her own singing, and she is terrific. I'm like under her spell whenever she gets on stage and does. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of jazz. This is a jazz club, by the way. Just like La La Land's about Ryan Gosling trying to save jazz, but it's a different story. But I'm not a big fan of jazz. I grew up rock and roll kind of person, but I like the original music that they come up with, the composers come up with for this series. Everything just seems so inviting, so welcoming, and the drama is really intriguing. I'm emotionally invested in all the characters. Fantastic show. And by the way, one of our favorites of HCA, actress Amandla Stender. Is her name? Stenberg, yep. I believe. From The Hate You Give. She plays the daughter of Andre Holland's character, and she also gives an explosive and powerful performance, just like Andre.
Awesome. Obviously, since this show is not on, I'm going to guess that none of us have seen this show.
No, but it sounds like what La La Land should have been. Like with him going to Paris instead of being the selfish snobs that they each were and just break up and like where he could have just followed her to Paris. It sounds like that. It sounds like that's a redo.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go out to Paris and I'm going to open up my jazz club finally. And then we can get a good ending from La La Land.
Exactly.
He might have actually won the Academy Award.
Now it can win an Emmy.
Yeah.
No, it can't win an Emmy.
But that's the thing, though. Just want
the wrong
to
card.
But that's the thing, though. I don't know how the show would appeal to non-jazz fans. I mean, I like I said, I didn't grow up with rock music, but I never hated jazz. But the jazz music is pretty heavy, kind of like when you watch Luke Cage. I don't know if you've ever watched Luke Cage. There were at least like 2 R&B songs played in Maurice Stokes clubs in each episode. It's kind of like that. It's very heavy, the jazz music. So that could be a thing.
Well, I'll add that to my Netflix queue because it's currently growing and growing and growing with all the stuff that they keep putting out.
With Arctic Dogs.
With Arctic Dogs. I mean, I have to do a marathon of that first. So after I do that,
a marathon of Arctic Dogs.
Yeah, of course.
Good for you.
I still am very upset that Jeremy Renner did not get nominated for Best Song for that movie. I mean, he was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Masterpiece.
All right, Kit. We're gonna go to you.
Yeah.
What you watching?
Well, what's up first? Can I just pick whichever one?
Pick. Yep.
Okay. Homeland. It ended not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. But I just caught up on it last week or the weekend. 8 seasons of this show. I stuck with it, and I know a lot of people gave up on it quick.
Yeah.
After the 3rd season, people were like, "Yeah, I'm over this." I mean, it can get very intense, and it can get very convoluted in a lot of ways, but still the characters are just still tremendous. I mean, Claire Danes as Carrie, she's just she brought a level to that and embodied that character so completely. I don't know if people have watched Homeland at all or want to watch it. I guess it's on Hulu now, but basically the premise is that Claire Danes plays a CIA agent who's bipolar. And she gets dragged into all kinds of, missions and situations where she has to use her brain power. And sometimes if she's not on her medication, she actually can really piece together things a lot easier. So sometimes she'll deliberately go off of her medication so that she can, see it. And like she can see all of the elements that have to be put together to find the terrorist, to find this, to whatever, to stop, the president from getting us into war. There's all kinds of scenarios with this. So it's been hit or miss. And I have followed it. My husband and I both have followed it the whole time, even through its darkest times. Once it got past the 3rd season where she, I don't want to give too much away, but there was a character that kind of just finally went away and we're like, thank God. And then each season became her, either abroad, overseas, doing some kind of a mission, or, she's at one point she's back home in Washington, D.C., and then she has to deal with the politicos of that and like a corrupt president and all of this kind of stuff. So each season got even better. And this past season, the very last of it, it's now over. It's also just as intense, kind of a little annoying at times. There were a couple of episodes I'm like, come on already, it's like it's the same, felt like the same thing over and over again. However, the last 2 episodes were tremendous. And if I could say a show satisfied me in a way that I can't even quite explain how it ended, it did. It was like, because it was always the core relationship in this whole series was between Carrie and Saul, who is played by Mandy Patinkin. He's also an agent, but he's moved up the line, so he's in the higher ups. and it's always been the relationship between these two characters. You know, he's a father figure to her. He always, you know, feels responsible for her, and he's put her in these situations, but he knows what she can do. But sometimes, you know, he pushes her too far. And how it comes together at the end was just, I was blown away. It was so exciting and just perfect how it ended. I really want to tell you how it ended, but I'm not gonna, because I want people to watch it.
I have to ask Rama, because obviously Rama was one of those people who dropped off this show, because I could tell from his reaction.
Yes.
So what season did you wind up leaving?
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask it, but yeah, I dropped off at after Nicholas Brody died. You know, spoiler alert, he got hanged or something like that. And after, like, what's the appeal? There's no Nicholas Brody anymore. But I mean, I know Claire is a strong character, but it's always been like the dynamic of Claire and Nick Brody. You know, I want both of them in the picture.
See, that's the thing. I wanted Nick Brody to go away.
Oh, really?
His whole family just bugged the crap out of me. Okay, the whole deal. I'm like, good, go. Because then it became more of what it's like in that very first season, which was, you know, very contained. And it's really, it's her character and what she can do and what kind of situations she finds herself in, you know, and the people that she interacts with. In fact, if you're a guy and she gets involved with you in any way, shape, or form, mostly romantic, but also if you're just, you know, really like her and want to help her, you're doomed. You're doomed.
Yes. That's true. That's true. So Kid, it doesn't feel like
almost, except for Saul. Saul's not quite doomed, but yeah.
So you know, when I remember the American version of The Office, when it ended, it felt to me like it was like 5 seasons too long. It should have ended a long time ago. It doesn't feel like that way with Homeland.
It could have probably ended after, you know, season 7 or whatever. But I mean, and like I said, each season had its sort of, you know, hits
Up
or
and
misses.
down,
Yeah. I think actually season 4, when they got rid of Brody, and I forgot exactly, I think he ends up going back to Iran or somewhere, I can't remember. It got really good again. I was like, okay, and I think people missed out because they were so already over it, you know, like, I'm over it, but you missed out. So honestly, if you kind of liked the first season of Homeland and you really
I did
feel like you want to continue on, start from like season 4 or 5 and then move forward.
All right.
Oh, this poor Brody guy, man, he's taking hits. I mean, from Kid, he's taking his hits.
The first season was great.
He left the show and it got great.
He sucks.
He was dragging it down, dragging her down.
Oh, I was on the verge of not watching ever again, and he left. And season 4.
Move
guy.
on.
So that means Demetri has never watched this show, is what I'm getting, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, nope,
I have not either.
Sorry. Neither have
But
I.
I'm telling you, the ending, you know, there's some endings of shows. Obviously, we have our favorites and the ones that we absolutely hated. Like Dexter.
Sure.
Oh my God, I hated the end of Dexter.
Dexter
ending is
the
worst, right? But
Did they kill the Brody guy?
No,
that's a different show, Demetri.
All right. I'm just checking.
But 6 Feet Under, one of the best endings of a show ever, right? And then you have
that's what I heard.
Then you have your controversial ones like Sopranos or Lost or whatever. You know, you've got this one was perfect. It was perfect.
I'll give it a shot again.
Yeah.
All right, Demetri, your go.
Well, first I have a quick revelation. So we all review movies here, and what's one of the 2 most popular questions we get as movie reviewers? It's either, what is your favorite movie? Right? A question that I hate because I love so many movies, and to narrow it down to one movie out of all the movies that we've seen. And then the other one is like, who is your favorite director? And I always try to avoid these questions, so I just throw out a lot of names. But recently, I came to a conclusion as to who my favorite director is of all time. And no apologies here. Steven Spielberg for me. For me, it's Steven Spielberg. I grew up, I started to grow up in the 70s, being born in the mid 60s, and being on a healthy diet, Kit, you know this, and Scott, of Disney films Steven Spielberg's Jaws was, I was at the tender age of 9, and I put my big boy pants on to go to the movies. And that was like my first thriller movie experience. And then when you just look at, or I look at, and growing up, the movies that he provided, and that really drew me in as a movie fan, whenever it had Spielberg on the title, I just had to go see it. And of course, there was Raiders of the Lost Ark, even his Color Purple. I even like Always, Empire of the Sun. I was working at Universal during Jurassic Park. And when you think of what he's provided for movie-going audiences, for me, and it's because of the era that I grew up in, for me, it was hands down. And that revelation came to me this weekend because there's been a lot of news taking place, I think we all can admit, right? But one little story that sort of kind of flew under the radar is we had UFOs became popular again. UFOs became popular again within the last 7 to 10 days. And Turner Classic Movies, which I've been on a steady diet on, they were playing Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I started watching it, and I hadn't seen the movie in some time. And so I was like, I broke out the next day. I broke out my 40th anniversary Blu-ray special edition, and it's a very special edition because it lights up.
Aww.
And it even has, I don't know if you can
the
hear it.
alien people.
The alien people.
Yep. And it has, number one, it has all 3 versions of the movie. So it has your theatrical version, the special edition, and it has Steven Spielberg's director's cut. And this movie came out in 1977. So we had Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And what an amazing year if you were 11 years old to go to the movies. Like you had George Lee at Star Wars, you're just learning of George Lucas, and then you have Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And when I watch Close Encounters, for me anyways, the movie is just near perfect, especially from a direction and storytelling standpoint. And its special effects, Douglas Trumbull helped out, they're fantastic. And even after watching like Star Wars, which had great special effects, I believe it won for the Academy Award, Close Encounters is using models for the big spaceships. And, the scene where little Barry gets abducted, okay? The scene in the house and the screws were unscrewing from the vent plate in the floor. As an 11-year-old kid, it scared the bejesus out of me because I'm like, how does that happen? Oh, how does it even happen too? Right? And then when Melinda Dillon is like reaching into the fireplace to shut the flue, that scene is just crazy. And it came out during...
Come in now. You can come in
now. Right. And that scene, that movie came out during a major UFO craze, along with Bigfoot. Richard Dreyfuss was fantastic, along with Terry Garr. And if anybody can tell me the name of the movie in which Richard Dreyfuss and Terry Garr reunite much later on in their careers, you get major bonus points. Don't look it up.
The Goodbye Girl.
I don't know.
No, Tootsie. No.
No, it's Kippendorf's Tribe.
No. Yes. No, Let It Ride.
Let It Ride.
They Let It Ride. It's a great movie about horse racing. Richard Dreyfuss
You
again.
should have saved that for
turns
a
into great
trivia-thon.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, and then, when you look at the end of that movie, it's gorgeous. The detail on the mothership as it flies over, you can spot the little R2-D2 that Spielberg put in there on purpose. The score, John Williams, yet again, he goes from Jaws to then he does Star Wars and he does Close Encounters. but he comes up with another tonal music soundtrack that just sticks in your head, not in a bad way. Another one of my favorite things about Close Encounters is Steven Spielberg's retrospection about talking about the movie, because one of his number one too on Blu-ray, it has one of those fantastic documentaries like making ofs that they really don't do anymore, where this thing is about 2 hours long, goes really in depth about the making of the movie, and great conversations with talent, including Spielberg. And Spielberg said that if he had to do it all over again, he would change the ending, because where he is in life now, being a family man, being in a committed relationship with Kikacha, he can't see the Roy Neary character just abandoning his family and going off onto the mothership for whatever adventure. And I understand that, and I respect what he has to say, because very few directors will come and say, I didn't really like this aspect of the movie, I wish I could change it or whatever, but I am happy with the ending the way that it is, because it shows Steven Spielberg's fascination with wonder. I think that he set it up in the movie enough where the marriage that Roy Neary had with his wife was pretty much crumbling. She wasn't buying any of this UFO things. There are some very tense scenes. There's a scene where Roy Neary pretty much breaks down, and he's locked himself in the bathroom, and Terry Garr, as his wife, pries it open, and there's a scene where the door is just like swinging, and it cuts from Richard Dreyfuss to his crying son, who's like yelling at him to stop crying. He's a baby. It's a very intense scene that you don't normally get in a science fiction type movie the way this is. And at the end of the movie, I kind of buy it that he's going to get on this ship. He's going to go on this adventure. And I think eventually he'd come back. But I love how Steven Spielberg, he matures and he says, yeah, right now, because he also wrote Close Encounters, because I can't see a committed family man getting on that ship and going away from his family like that. And I respect that in him.
Good.
So I wanted to ask everyone, kind of to go off that topic. This is a film that I remember watching when I was like really, really young. Just very briefly, can everyone just Rama and Kit, can you talk about like when you first saw it and did it have an impact on you?
Go ahead, Kit.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think I actually saw it in the theaters for the first time. I think I may have ended up watching it on TV, but because I when did it come out? I guess it came out right around the time of Jaws, right? Is that
no? It came out 77.
Yeah. Okay.
They had because it was Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think maybe I did. I can't remember. Whew. I guess it wasn't that big of an impact on me at that time, but I do love the movie, and recently, it was a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, Scott, that we got a chance to see it on the big screen again. Yeah, it was fantastic to watch it all again. But I do remember being scared out of my wits with the whole little kid getting taken away. He didn't seem scared, but I was like, ah!
As an 11-year-old kid.
That iconic opening the door was just, it was great.
And when you watch that scene, and again, the way that it's shot, put together, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just amazing. And to look at how old Spielberg was, which at that point, I think he was probably 27 going on to 28. The other lore around Close Encounters is Spielberg and George Lucas, no secret that they're very close friends. And they would vacation, and they probably still may vacation in Hawaii together. That's where they came up with their idea for Indiana Jones. But regarding Close Encounters, since they were coming out around the same year, they each made a bet. Well, yeah, they made a bet. George Lucas believed that Close Encounters was going to be the huge blockbuster of the year and make more money. Spielberg said, I appreciate it, but I think it's Star Wars. So they bet their back ends.
Yeah, I think I heard that story, yeah.
And Spielberg paid up.
Nice.
or actually, George Lucas. I'm sorry, George Lucas paid up.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
his back end for Star Wars. So, it's a kind of Hollywood that we don't really hear about anymore. Because again, when you think about Lucas and Spielberg, and I'm going to talk more about them in a little bit, when they're in Hawaii, this is how we come up with Indiana Jones. This is how we come up with these iconic action-driven movies. And when you look at Close Encounters and what it represents, I still think it holds up. Well, it holds up today.
Yeah.
The scene that takes place in the air traffic controller's room with the radar and just blips on a screen, and you hear the airline pilot saying, "Hey, we got something that's coming into us really fast." Again, you're riveted on the edge of your seat. And the way Spielberg, again, one of my favorite techniques is this dioptic lens in which you could see foreground and background in perfect focus. He used it in Jaws. He uses it a lot. He uses this throughout this entire movie. Francois Truffaut is fantastic, as well as Melinda
That's
Dillon.
true. And Rama, how about you? What was your
Oh yeah. This is why I'm jealous of you guys who got through and experienced the 70s, man. Some of my favorite movies are in the 70s. And so of course I was a late bloomer. I didn't get to watch it till freshman in college, probably in 1999, 2000, on DVD, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I loved it. And I think it was because of the same reason I love Jaws, in that it's mostly about character journey, the character's journey. When you hear about Jaws, oh my God, I can't wait to get to the sharks part. No, but it's about these guys, but these gentlemen, kind of like the same thing with Close Encounter of the Third Kind. Not until the very end when you see the glorious scene with the aliens from the distance. But for the most part, it's about the journey, and I like that. It's really cool.
And I would have to agree too, Rama. I saw this movie very late too. I think you and I are closer in age. And
Kit and I are closer in age, so nah.
But this movie terrified the shit out of me as a kid. I mean, it was just. I remember when I saw this on television, because again, I did not see this in the movie theater, and just having nightmares and being afraid to watch any alien movie. And
Wow.
I remember, I think the first time I was able to watch another alien movie was, I believe it was Fire in the Sky, which also scared the shit out of me.
It wasn't Mac and Me?
No, it wasn't Mac and Me. I mean,
wasn't E.T.?
it wasn't E.T. because I saw E.T. way before, and E.T. wasn't scary.
Okay.
It was more sad. We just didn't want E.T. to go away. We didn't want him to go home.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah,
I'll be right there, Scott.
Right here.
But I just really, really love this film too, and I think this movie is one of those films that is so iconic because of how well it actually holds up.
Oh, yeah.
Given how old it is, the fact that you can still watch it and appreciate it, because like Rama said, it's all about the journey and the character study more so than about the alien invasion. So I really did enjoy that.
I wanted to ask you, because I know that they did bring it back at the big screen. That was one of the great times I had taken Brenda. We'd seen it on at Howard Hughes. Was that the first time you had seen it on the big screen, or actually see it in a movie theater and not in a classroom theater or anything like that?
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing, right? It holds up so good, the visual effects, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Carlo Rambaldi doing the aliens, and you had there's great stories. I got to recommend a book, Julia Phillips and Michael Phillips, who produced the movie, right? They had just come off their Academy Award winning The Sting. And they produced Close Encounters. Years later, in the 90s, Julia Phillips had written a book called You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again. And it was one of the first books about Hollywood that actually dished on Hollywood. And it really went into a lot of the goings-on during Close Encounters. And it's a really fascinating read. Again, it's one of those, I wouldn't necessarily call it trashy, but like I said, it was the first book of its type that dished on Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hence the title, You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again. But a lot of it took place.
You actually gave me the perfect segue to go into
Nice.
my first show,
Nice.
Yay! Go
Hey,
ahead.
it's what I'm here for.
which is the Netflix series Hollywood.
Yes.
Ha.
I can't wait to see this.
So, I have to be honest. Ryan Murphy is a creator who really kind of either makes things that I really love or that I really dislike. He's very, very hit or miss. And when he's on, he's really on. When he's off, he's really off. And what I've noticed with him as a creator is when he has multiple projects going on, one is usually very good, the other one not so much. And he signed a really huge deal with Netflix. I think it was a year or two ago, where he was going to produce a bunch of series for them. And the first one was a show that Rama and I talked about called The Politician. And I was very excited about that show when it came out because it had Ben Platt, who is, from Broadway, and it has my girl Zoe Deutsch in it. And I thought that, that was going to be a great show because the marketing was great. And not so much. I think it's watchable, but like it was a struggle to make it through. So when the trailer for Hollywood dropped, I was a little nervous about it because like it looked amazing, but then so did the trailer for the other show and it disappointed me. So I got the screener links and I got to watch it. And I want to say that the first 2 episodes of this show, it takes a little time to get going. And I can totally understand. I think a couple people in our organization were complaining about like the first episode or second episode. They're like, I don't know if I'm really going to watch this show. I don't know if I'm going to commit to it. But once the 3rd episode kicks in and you start going into the history of Hollywood and you start learning more about like the segregation in Hollywood and how the system works and how no one wanted to let like a black writer work or a black actress outside of like the maid world, like a role, it really starts sucking you in. And I mean, you have this cast, and I mean, you have younger actors, you have veterans of the industry in this, and every single one brings their A game. I have to give a shout out to Jim Parsons because we all know him, of course, of Sheldon Cooper, Big Bang Theory. And this is like literally like he's like throwing that character out the window and it's like falling like 30, stories and like is dead because he is nothing like that character in this show. I think it has a lot to say about all the topics we've talked about and what almost like this organization that we're a part of was created for, to embrace underrepresented voices and stand up for something. And it was just a really killer show. I think it definitely has its fair share of flaws, don't get me wrong. But as a whole, I really, really enjoyed it. And by the time it kind of came to a close, I really ended up loving the show. Rama, did you get a chance to see it?
No, I did not. I
Not
didn't get
yet
around
either.
to
It's
it.
on my list, though.
Exactly. It's on
I
my
actually
list.
might start it tonight.
Okay.
Hey,
Like I
look
said,
at that.
be very warned that the first 2 episodes, like they're kind of wonky.
Okay.
So just
Okay.
be warned. And then I did mention this because I didn't talk about the show on the previous one that we did, but it's very heavy in sexual situations. So again, be warned of that if you're watching it. I wouldn't say this is a show you watch with mom. So just be warned about that. But yeah, other than that, I
probably watch it
highly
with my
recommend it.
So you said after the 2nd episode, so like, is that because they killed that Brody character? It
Yes.
just got way better.
It's exactly
Get him
what
out.
it is.
Get him
Is
out.
that what happened? Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, it's
So I
Brody.
should start at episode 3. Well, when you got the links, did you get the links for the entire show or just the first 2 episodes? And by the time you watched those, it was on and you had to watch the remainder on Netflix? Or
No.
did you
I
watch
got
it
to
all
watch
via
the
link,
whole.
or-
First of all, Netflix. I've been giving them shout outs on like every one of these shows, but honestly, they've been so great during this pandemic that in providing so much content for me to watch. I mean, I just been so overwhelmed by how how nice they've been in putting stuff that I want to watch on the streaming app for me. And I love the fact now they used to have this weird system where you actually had to go on the website and watch it through the website, but now they actually add it to your Netflix account, so you get it in like the full,
Oh wow.
yeah, 4K quality. It's great, and they can watch it with the surround sound and everything. And the only thing that's different is it'll say on the top, it'll say like when the embargo is and like when you can talk about it. But I got to watch all 7 episodes. I watched it, which those who know me, I don't usually binge stuff, but I actually watched all 7 episodes in like 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
Because it just really it got to me, and I just kept watching and watching and watching. But to me, the Joe Mantello is in this, and he plays Dick Samuels. If he does not get a Emmy nomination for this, I would be shocked to shit. Honestly, he's that good in this. And then Patty LuPone is also really, really great. So, highly recommend.
Speaking
It
of
is on my queue.
Speaking of, watching something where the people should have gotten nominated several times over, that's a segue to my next one.
Go for it, Kit.
Didn't know about this, but I didn't know about IMDb TV, but you can sign up for a free account, and they have a lot of stuff you can watch for free. And all you have to do is just sign up for it, and they've got a whole list of stuff that you can watch, from movies to TV shows. And they had the entire seasons of Fringe available to watch on IMDb. So guess what I did in the last couple of weeks? I literally watched the whole thing all over again. I remember loving it, when it aired in 2008, I think is when it first aired, or 2007. And it's J.J. Abrams. It was coming off of Lost. He teamed up with Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman, and the guys who wrote Star Treks. And they I think maybe some of the lessons that they learned from Lost, they kind of made up for with Fringe. I mean, it is almost like, because I really liked the X-Files, of course. I was a big fan of the X-Files when it was on the late 90s, and this definitely has that vibe to it. But for whatever reason, there's another core relationship in this that just makes it better than anything else, which is, a very father-son relationship between Peter Bishop, played by Joshua Jackson, and Walter Bishop, played by John Noble. Walter Bishop, Dr. Walter Bishop, I should say, is another one of those TV characters that just is one of the best ones ever, I think. I mean, he was a brilliant, geneticist, and he did all kinds of stuff, but then he had parts of his brain taken out because he was becoming power hungry and godlike, and he didn't want to be like that. And so he became, sort of less of that. And then, the whole relationship with his son, who, had a childhood illness and was dying as a young boy at 9 years old. And his son actually dies. And he realizes there's an alternate universe that he can see through this window, and he sees the other Peter on the other side. And so he goes on the other side and he gets that Peter, and that's the Peter we know. Anyway, I started to try to explain this again to Steve, and because we remember watching it, and he's like, it's too much in my brain. But suffice to say, all the craziness that happens and all the Fringe events that they investigate, and the relationship between Walter and Peter, and then, of course, Peter and Olivia Dunham, played by Anna Torv, who's a FBI agent. She's part of the Fringe division. And it holds up. It literally holds up. So if you loved it when you first watched it, you can watch it all over again for free. And if you've never watched Fringe and always was sort of interested in it, again, here it is for you. And like I said, I think unlike Lost, which I also loved too, but I know that also, like Homeland, became like, how are we going to end this? And, they just couldn't figure it out. And I personally didn't mind how it ended, but I get why people were pissed off by the ending. But Fringe, they figured it out. I finished the last episode last night. I'm like crying over again because Walter goes off with the kid and gets to the future, and he sends the past. He sends the past Peter.
Kit, you are so passionate about this show. Holy crap!
Yeah, and
I
if you've never
know.
seen it before, sorry, no need now. She just ruined the ending for you.
No, I didn't really. Not really. You have no
Way to
idea
go.
what I'm talking about. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
I saw the show. I watched it.
You saw the show?
Yeah, I did. I actually, I loved the show when it first aired. I thought it was
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. And
watched
and
it
it was
every
because of the
week.
cast of characters, and it was always one of those shows that was on the ratings bubble. Like it never was huge,
No.
but it did big enough, and because I think of J.J. Abrams' clout, that it was able to stay on air. I believe it was on ABC. I think
Yeah, Fox.
was it Fox? And look, Pacey became, he became popular again because of the show. It became a Comic-Con hit. So
But again,
it really built a following.
It sure did,
and it was
and
solid. It was.
I'm watching it all over again. I'm just amazed that none of those people ever got nominated for Emmys or won an Emmy, because they literally had to play. Like I said, there was this alternate universe, and they had they had their faux Olivia, and you had your alternate. So they were playing these two different characters all the time, plus just everything else that goes on in the show. And I just, especially John Noble. It is really. I mean, if you want to watch a show where one character just so just capsulize what the show's about and just is such a rich, deep, amazing character, I would say Walter Bishop's definitely high up there. He and Walter White.
And you nailed it on the.
Yes. He's like,
nailed it on the
what
head
show
too,
I
but-
like? X-Files.
Yeah.
Well, X-Files. I mean,
Rama's like,
that's
I
what
love
it was.
X-Files because
But
there's
if-
someone
if
in
you-
that show that I really, really like.
If you liked X-Files,
You're
I
gonna
think
love
you really have a good time with Fringe because it had that feel to it.
Yeah.
And it was episodic, yet it had a through line.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. I think they fixed the mistakes. So, but it was only 4 seasons, 5 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Rama,
it's
we're
worth
going to
watching.
move back over to you.
Oh, my second story?
Your
show?
second story.
This again, I'm sorry I keep talking about shows that haven't aired yet, but that's what I've been watching lately.
There you
I
go.
apologize.
Hey, no, give everyone an early preview.
Yeah,
They can add some stuff to their queue. Come on.
Exactly. So this is The Great. It premieres next week on Hulu. And it stars one of my favorite actresses of all time, Elle Fanning. I would watch her in anything. Just like, Ridley Scott's muse is Russell Crowe. Martin Scorsese's muse is Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. If I were a filmmaker, I would cast Elle Fanning in all my movies. She's just fantastic. And she plays Catherine the Great. Now, I haven't seen the HBO Catherine the Great with... what's her name? Helen Mirren, yeah. But that's, when she's already a queen. This is more like a prequel, the rise of Catherine the Great. So when she first meets the Emperor Peter, Emperor of Russia, played by Nicholas Hoult. And here's the thing, the hook is, when I heard that it's when I heard that it's created and written by the co-writer of The Favorite, that's it. It had me right there, along with Elle Fanning. I'm like, because I love The Favorite. That's one of my favorite movies of 2018. And so his name is Peter McNamara. And the appeal of The Great is that it's in Peter McNamara's genius in mocking monarchy, making fun of monarchy. And of course, and using today's upbeat approach, kind of like in The Favorite, you saw the characters doing breakdance. There's no breakdance here, but there's some pop music involved. And of course, the thing is that the theme is female empowerment, because Emperor Peter is so misogynistic. Like Catherine the Great, or Catherine, Elle Fanning, comes into the picture with all these dreams about, oh my God, I'm gonna help build Russia, because she's a German descent. She's like an outsider, but like she has love for Russia. I'm gonna marry this man, and we're gonna do great things for Russia. But then she finds out that he's a jerk. He's sexist. And he's surrounded by yes men and yes women. And just like in The Favorite, where The Favorite movie would highlight the absurdity of the life of the rich and famous or the monarchy. The same happens here too. There are things where they would have silly games just to appease Emperor Peter, and Emperor Peter would say something that's not really funny, but everybody has to laugh. So it's like a nightmare that she finds herself in, and throughout the entire 10 episodes, she has this plan to do a takeover, a coup, but at the same time, she also there will be times when she thinks that, you know what, maybe I can influence or sway Peter towards my progressive agenda or progressive direction. Sometimes it works, sometimes it backfires. So and at the same time, she also has to wrestle with the head of the religion in Russia, who doesn't believe in science, who's backward minded. So her and the head of religion battling to get approval of Peter, kind of like Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone trying to get the approval of Olivia Colman. It's a fantastic show that kind of reminds you why you love The Favorite. And of course, Elle Fanning can do no wrong. She is so fabulous, amazing performance. If she doesn't get Emmy nomination, I would probably be pissed. But yeah, overall, it's a great show. It comes out next week on Hulu.
So I was going to ask you about that show. Is it as raunchy as The Favorite?
Yes, it's raunchy. I don't believe there's nudity, but it gets pretty raunchy. And of course, it has colorful language.
Colorful language.
Exactly.
Wow.
Colorful metaphors. As they
Naughty,
would say
naughty.
in Star Trek: The Voyage Home.
Exactly. So I highly recommend it. They dropped the whole thing, Hulu binge watchable, kind of like Amazon Prime Video. That's why I hate CBS All Access and DC Universe. Like, only one episode per week. That why we avoid TV to go to you guys to get binge watch stuff.
But I just want to say about binging TV. I feel like it's almost like eating too much junk food all at one time. It's like I like to space that kind of stuff out, right? So I don't want to eat all my cookies right now.
Well put.
I'm kind of like you, but I also like when Netflix drops all of, say, Stranger Things. I don't have to binge. I don't have to watch it all.
Right.
And I don't. I do what you do, and
you pace it.
What Disney Plus did with The Mandalorian and Clone
right.
Wars, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until all the episodes are available. I'll watch them at my leisure, but I never want to catch up. Like, I never want to catch up. So, now I got to wait. So now I have I did start Clone Wars, but I agree. Like, I don't get this whole hold them. Like, that's what they did on network TV. And you're not network TV.
Yeah, right.
You rely on streaming.
Actually, they kind of are network TV. It's CBS, so maybe that's why.
Probably.
But it's a streaming service.
Yeah,
but it's not on network TV.
They have that network TV mentality.
If the show is good enough to be on network TV, guess what? It'd be on network TV.
But Hulu does that though. Hulu does that as well, though. They won't show Castle Rock. I had to wait for the.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No.
well, I know Disney Plus does the same thing
now. I think that was something where people were like really, really against it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with all you guys. I mean, if I'm really into something, and obviously not now the way our lives are, but like when things were like crazy before, and like you were constantly going, like if I sat down for a weekend and I wanted to watch a show, and if I was into it, I would want to spend that weekend watching it and be done with it.
True.
The fact that I have to like wait from week to week to week, and like, again, luckily I'm not watching anything that's like that. I think it would just piss me off at this point.
Netflix put all of Hollywood up, right?
Yeah,
like, that's
all 7 episodes.
They always put everything up.
Yeah, which is look, whatever my thoughts on Netflix as far as their series go, I think they handle that right and just put it up there.
Yeah,
I'll watch it at my leisure, but at least I know I don't have to wait. The only thing I have to wait for maybe is the next season, if it is a seasonal type show.
Yeah,
but I like having the option that it's there. I can tune it in whenever I want to. I kind of like that.
I think my frustration is stems from because Kit and I both are trekkers. And I'm like, oh, Picard and Discovery, you have to wait on a weekly basis. It's so like,
And then I would forget, and then I have to go back on. And so actually, I ended up doing what Demetri did, was just waited, and I just waited until they were all done. So I watched the last 4 Picards right back to back to back. It was good.
I'll wait for the Blu-ray.
I really like it.
Yeah, Demetri's like totally against buying CBS All Access.
Well, I got burned on. I think Discovery is crap, flat out. I think it's shit. It's not Star Trek, and especially since I've been rewatching Voyager, that really I go, my God, this is Star Trek. I go, how could they have messed up Discovery so horribly? And I got the Blu-ray for that, and I won't even use them as coaster sets. So I have a little bit of trepidation.
Yeah, we've had this
with
discussion
Picard.
before.
Yeah, I know. I'm not.
You can tell
I
from
got
my
so pissed
body
off.
language how I feel about your assessment of Discovery.
That's a bad show. It's not Star Trek. I'm sorry. It just I don't know what it is. I'd rather watch The Orville. The Orville was a better show, and it reminded me of Star Trek.
When is The Orville supposed to come back?
It's Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, and that's streaming now too. So they've lost me.
Going on Hulu,
I'm not
right?
subscribing. Is it Hulu?
Hulu, yeah. It's going to be on Hulu.
Hulu has it. All right, Demetri, you got like 2 minutes to
Okay.
talk about your next pick.
So, my next pick, as I said, Steven Spielberg. I've been on this kick. A few weeks ago, I rewatched Raiders of the Lost Ark, which by far is one of the best action adventure movies ever made. And this past weekend, I just got a hankering to put in from the disc, from the Indiana Jones box set. I watched The Temple of Doom.
Yes.
I didn't like that one.
Now, see, I'm going to say not always my favorite, but I've always appreciated it for a lot of different things, including the opening music number and the opening action scene, which takes place at Club Obi-Wan. And I also have to say the mine car chase scene is fantastic. And again, using old school miniature technique in doing and how they map that out and using miniatures with actual film, like they built like a little mini roller coaster. It's a movie that has another fabulous documentary. But like I said about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Steven Spielberg, you see the wonder in him. That's why he goes away. In this movie, it was a very dark movie. And watching it again, it really is a dark flick. Black magic, dark supernatural things. But when you watch the documentary, you even hear George Lucas goes, yeah, I was going through a divorce at the time. And, it's a very dark film. And Spielberg himself even said going into Last Crusade, he kind of went into Last Crusade to apologize for Temple of Doom. And Last Crusade has a completely different tone, more akin to Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I still enjoy Temple of Doom because of its marketing campaign. I couldn't wait for it to come out. If adventure had a name, it must be Indiana Jones. Seeing Harrison Ford as that character again is fantastic. And albeit that it doesn't quite have the fun and whimsy of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it really isn't meant to. But I also say to all those people who laughed at the refrigerator scene in Crystal Skull, yeah, him coming out of an inflatable raft from an airplane thousands of feet in the sky, dropping on the Alps or wherever they were in India, yeah, that's plausible too. So all of these movies have those kinds of scenes in it. And again, it's a reflection of the time. It's a reflection how the directors feel. And I got to be honest with you, so Steven Spielberg himself was married to Amy Irving. Watch Carrie. She was in Carrie, and he met Kate Capshaw on set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He eventually divorced Amy Irving, married Kate Capshaw, but it's almost uncomfortable to see Spielberg and Capshaw together on set. before they were together, it's kind of crazy. Like you see, oh yeah, Amy Irving was done. Like it was just the way they talked and how they were together. It's kind of crazy. Of course, the other notable thing about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is because of that movie, we ended up getting the PG-13 rating because it was so dark. Because Mola Ram would reach into the heart of a person and rip out his heart.
Yeah.
And the person's still alive and he lifts up his hands and the heart catches on fire. I mean, parents were outraged at the time. Outraged.
Also,
they were like,
torture, kid and slaves?
Kids were being whipped. They were enslaved. Indiana Jones backslaps Short Round, but we met the little Short Round who was in the Goonies. I mean, again, Goonies. When you look at throughout movie history and Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, not the greatest, but I still enjoy it because look at the old school special effects. Look at the matte paintings that are just absolutely gorgeous and stunning to look at. His cinematography and the way that they cut and edit. There really was this craftsmanship that I think a lot of directors, not every director, but a lot of directors just don't understand.
Yep. No, I get it.
And, I'm very thankful for Indiana Jones being in my movie going life because he's an amazing character. So Temple of Doom was what I've been watching. All I watch is movies. I got to be honest.
I know, Demetri.
I watch a lot of
I'm the movie guy.
I watch a lot of movies too, though. Like they play Alien and Aliens like daily, and I go, oh.
I watched Aliens too, and James Cameron on the Blu-ray he credits Steven Spielberg. He's on the director's cut. It's a Rona, or I saw it online. He's being interviewed by Rona Barrett. You remember Rona Barrett?
Oh yeah.
And she asked him who his influence was, and he says Steven Spielberg. He goes, he's not going to make a movie like Aliens. He goes, this is going to be harsher, but he goes, that's what I hope to accomplish when I entertain.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so real quick, my last pick is this little TV show right here.
Yay.
Never Have I Ever.
I've heard it was good.
And I have to say that as someone who has watched Mindy Kaling pretty much in everything she's done, from, of course, her movie with Late Night, but also being in The Office and the Mindy Project. And she even did a little show, which did not last very long, called Champions. I've always been a big champion of Mindy Kaling. And I was really looking forward to this Never Have I Ever. And I think the best way I can kind of sum up this movie is like if Blinded by the Light and Booksmart kind of like had a baby.
Oh.
Because it really, I don't know. It is something magical about it because the personalities of these characters seem like characters out of Booksmart, but because of the story being so much grounded in Indian culture, it reminds me of like Blinded by the Light with the Pakistani culture, and like the rules and following those rules. I just really found like this was a great mashup of both those. And I'm not going to butcher any of the cast name because I cannot pronounce any of their names, but the lead girl who plays Davy is just phenomenal, and she is going to be like the next Geraldine. I really do. I think she's just going to be a huge star, and she just lights up the screen, and the supporting cast is also really great. I really love this show. Rama, did you got to see this, right?
Oh, I loved it. This is probably my favorite news series of this season, especially the final episode. The final episode it got me teary-eyed. I choked up. I rewatched it again and again. Makes me want to call my dad and my mom. It was just so heartfelt, so moving. Such a great show overall.
Right. And would you say that it is kind of similar to Booksmart in certain ways?
Yes. And I love also the whole cultural stuff as well. You know how she's like, I can't wait for me to go to college and not think about all this Indian stuff. But then it's like she got to a place where like, you know what, this is me, and I love it, and I embrace it, and I like that.
And I thought it was really surprisingly emotional, like you were
Yes.
saying that there's
Oh,
so there's
man.
like this whole backstory in the show. It's just like one of the parents is not in the picture, and essentially as things go on, like you kind of get like these little hints of like what's going on, and then I think around episode either 8 or 9, they start dropping the ball as to what really happened, and once that hits, like the tone of the show completely changes, but it changes so much for the better because like it can blend the comedy but also the drama, and it becomes like this perfect dramedy. And I think a lot of people have said that this could be quite possibly the best thing that Mindy Kaling has ever done.
So she
I don't
wrote
know
it,
if
created it?
it's kind of hard because I feel like the first couple of seasons of Mindy Project were amazing. The first couple of seasons of The Office were amazing. It's definitely better than Late Night. It's definitely better than Champions. But like, I don't know if it's better than those other shows, but it's definitely up there. And like Rama said, I think this is one of the best series that I've watched in probably a couple. It's probably my favorite series since Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh.
How
And it's
many
narrated by John
episodes?
10.
Yeah.
10 episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're only 23 minutes each, so they'll fly by.
And it's narrated
Okay,
by John McEnroe.
I've heard good things about this. I've been reading a lot of good things about it, so I'm looking
Exactly.
Same here.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
I highly recommend it. So real quick, because we have to end this show,
All right.
just going around, what's something else that you would recommend? And I'm talking about like Cliff Notes, 30-second version of this. Something else you would recommend watching that you haven't talked about. So for me, Rama, and Kit, since we did all TV shows, we're going to have to pick a movie. Demetri, you're actually going to have to pick a TV show.
Fair. I got it. It's easy.
You mean a movie like just a
Any
movie I
movie.
love?
Any movie you can find probably on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime.
Well,
go
you
first.
guys
Okay.
probably already talked about it, but I really liked Extraction,
Yes.
the action thriller with Chris Hemsworth. I know it's been mixed. I think I read something about tweet from you about how people are kind of mixed on it, but I really enjoyed it. So, I mean, if you want some good action, and that I think I've mentioned before too, the other one that's on Netflix called Sticks Underground. It's also really, really good. Michael Bay, kind of tongue in cheek. Ryan Reynolds. Like, if you want to do a back to back, like full on action, back to back double feature, then do Six Underground and Extraction.
All right, how about you, Demetri?
Well, for me, I'm going to pick up because you said, Kit, earlier on you were watching IMDb TV, which you can also watch shows off of Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Has IMDb TV. And I've been watching the old Spencer for Hire television series. They have that on for free.
Love it.
And again, I was inspired by that because of the crap Spencer movie that was on Netflix, which was the 180 of what Spencer was and stood for. And why I was in Boston at the time of filming. I'm a huge Robert B. Parker fan. It was because of reading Robert B. Parker and Spencer that I got into Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler, and I became big mystery, big sleep kind of things. And that was Spencer for me. I read Spencer. I had to read Spencer, one of the books, early autumn in college. And that summer, I read every single book that was available at the time. And when they started filming it, I got to meet Robert Urich. I got to meet
Cool.
Avery Brooks, and I got to see them film. And then, of course, I love the show. So there's my television show. It is on IMDb TV, which I watch it through my Amazon Prime account. And so far, there have been no commercials. They say you can watch a season for free with no commercials, but everything I've watched, no commercials. And it brings me back. Robert Urich was a very good Spencer.
Great. How about you, Rama?
There's a new movie coming out this weekend that I missed out on the last year's TIFF, How to Build a Girl, starring Beanie Feldstein. I liked it. I like her, even though her English accent is kind of on and off. but hey, effort on the accent. But performance-wise, she is fierce. She's so bold and brazen. I love her performance in this film, which, as far as coming of age tale goes, it's kind of generic, but it's still enjoyable and entertaining overall.
No, I can't say anything about this, and I'm going to talk about it on Saturday, but I am just going to say that there's a movie coming out on Friday called Valley Girl. It's a remake of a movie that you may know about, and I can't say how I felt about it, but I am recommending that you watch it so you probably have an idea how I felt about it.
Like totally.
But that comes out on Friday, and I am doing my best to spread the good word. So... There you go.
That was going to be one of my picks, the original Valley Girl. Actually.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
You know what?
Yep, because I watched that.
You know,
and it surprisingly holds up.
The girl's horrible, but Nick Cage.
Oh, I disagree.
Right.
Deborah Foreman, I disagree with you. Deborah Foreman's awesome. I know
but Nick
she
Cage,
was great.
You could tell right away he was going to be a
He was great. And I loved her. I don't know whatever happened to her career. But in any case, Martha Coolidge's first film. And no, I think Deborah Foreman's awesome. But what movie did you? What movie are you gonna pick, Scott?
I just did. I just told you.
Valley Girl.
But you said you had to pick the original. No, that's a. Oh, okay. You can't pick.
What?
You picked the movie that you just
I picked the
talk about?
2020 Valley Girl because
You
I'm
said
not
you
allowed
can't
to talk about my feelings on it yet. But I really want people to watch this movie when it comes out on Friday.
I can't wait to watch that
Saturday on the other show because I really
That's not fair.
recommend it.
That's not fair to this show.
I know. But I can't.
The only thing I know that's different is it's a musical, correct?
What?
That's all I know. It's a musical, correct?
It's a musical. It's a musical, and everyone knows how I feel about musicals. So there you go.
I know you even like Cats. I'm kidding.
No, I do not. No,
I'm kidding.
No, I do not. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. We'll see you on Saturday. Also, I guess I should do this real quick because everything we should be talking about. So we're going to have a trivia-thon to benefit COVID-19. That is going to be on Saturday, May 16th. It is going to be on Twitch and YouTube. We are not going to be doing that one on Twitter because we actually need to have a focused audience. There is going to be a lot to watch with that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got some great celebrity pop-up appearances on the show. So you're going to want to tune in. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to do some raffles. We're going to raise some money for 7 different great organizations who have been doing their part for COVID-19. And it is going to be a great event. So definitely tune in. Again, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see everyone on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
It's great seeing you. Bye.
Bye.